Hello, and welcome back to the terminal. Welcome to Module 2, and I just want to say that I'm going to be going over some stuff from Module 1, stuff that I feel could have been covered a little bit more extensively, and also we'll be going over file systems and permissions as well. I do need to say before we get started that it's imperative that your virtual machine or operating system is connected to the internet for this tutorial, and many others as well. It should be connected by default, but if it is not, then I will add tutorials in the description on how to do so. The reason it needs to be connected to the internet is because we will be installing a tool today, and to install this tool we need to add ourselves to the sudoers list as well. It's a simple process, so yeah, though you're not going to be like overwhelmed or anything, but let's just get straight into it. So to begin, we'll be using Who Am I? We covered this in Module 1. It just returns the username, simple. And then keep a note of your username. I really do hope that it isn't too what's the word? Complicated. Bang. I hope it's not too complicated. But yeah, if it is, write it down. So we're going to then type su dash and enter your root password. From you would have entered your root password when you set up the virtual machine. So enter it here, and then we will type in vi sudo. So we are now in the sudoers file, and we're just going to go right to the bottom using the arrow keys and just enter a new line basically and put your username followed by all in capitals, and then follow that up with equals bracket all colon all, and then put a space and write all again, and then write Control O to write out, enter to save it, and then Control X to exit this file. Then we're going to exit this as well, and then we're going to just come over here, power button, and log out, and then log back in. I'll come back to you once that's done. Okay, welcome back to the terminal. I'm now logged in again. So now to verify that we are successfully among the sudoers, just type in groups, enter, and you should see your username. My username is Max, so you'll see it alongside the word sudo. Now we can be content with the idea that that is now out of the way, and we are successfully now sudoers, and we will always be sudoers in this virtual machine, so we don't have to do that ever again. Now we can install the tool. So you want to type in sudo, basically meaning that this command will be executed with sudo privileges, which are required to install tools, like I said already. Apt install tree. Apt basically just meaning the packages. Install, and tree is the tool that we will be installing. So you want to press enter and enter your password again. You'll see all the packages install, and cool, that's it. Tree is now downloaded, and you can be content with the idea that that is now done. We will use tree later on in this tutorial, but first I do want to go back to some of the Module 1 stuff. Okay, so let's begin by typing print working directory. You know, this tells us where we are in the file system, so we can now be happy with the idea that we are home. So let's make a few directories, but we're not going to make them one by one or use combining commands. We're just going to do make dir -p. Now what -p does is, I'll finish typing the command and then I'll tell you what -p does. So we'll start with lab, and then we'll do, I don't know, module 2 and then /test. Now what -p does, we know what make dir does. It makes the directories, simple, but -p makes the parent directories if they don't already exist. So if -p wasn't here, basically it would look through a lab directory, it would look for a directory called lab, and then a directory called module 2 inside lab, and then make the test directory. However, -p will make the lab directory and the module2 directory as well as the test directory if it can't detect parental directories. Wow. So if we enter that and we list, you'll now see the lab directory, and then if we ls lab, you'll see that we have the module2 directory, and then if we ls lab / module2, you'll now see that we successfully have all 3 directories made with one command. So now let's change into the test directory from the home directory. Now, we don't need to go through it one by one. We don't need to cd into lab, then cd into module2, then cd into test. We simply just type cd lab / module2 / test. So now we have just, if we print working directory again, you can see that we've now just changed directly into the test directory. And now I do want to go back to using cd ... basically meaning that we're going to go up one directory. So if I enter it here, that means we're going to go from test up to module2. And now you can pair this kind of in a sequence. So if we cd back home, okay, let's say I want to go to module2, but I'll deliberately make it difficult so I can showcase what I mean. So cd lab / module2 / test, and then I'll go back up into module2, and then I'll go up again back into test, and then I'll go to module2 again, and you'll see that we went to lab / module2. The dots literally just mean to go up one, and you can pair it instead of, well, not instead of anything, you write it to go up. It's as simple as that, and it works in when you try to write a path in one. So let's just cd back home and let's try out this tree command. So let's use tree on the new directory we've just made. So if we do tree lab, it will now display the exact file structure of the lab directory we've just made. It's so handy. It's so good at like helping you visualize what it actually looks like, especially for complex directories as well. It's extremely good for that, and this is a very handy piece of kit to know. So let's now cd into the root directory. I know we've not been here before, but stay with me. So if we ls, now you can see that we have a lot of new files. So these files are more important, to be totally honest with you, such as the etc file, which you can see below dev. The etc file, as we talked about in module 1, contains a lot of the fundamental files for the operating system, program files, etc. Hence why it's in the root directory. So we're going to use tree -l1 to explore the top level of the system. So if we enter that, you'll see it returns only the top level. Again, tree is super handy. It's really good. Like, this isn't an easy directory to picture in your head, especially when a lot of the time working in file systems, you'll probably have an image in your head of what you're doing, so it can be easy to get lost, especially in complex ones. So the tree command is extremely useful at helping you stay grounded. Now let's just cd into the etc directory, and just to verify that we're there, print working directory as always, and we're going to be using ls again, but a different type of ls. So we did ls-l, we've touched on that before, it gives us a long listing, but we can actually add an h as well to make it readable for humans. It is already readable, but this just makes it better in the sense that you can see we now have file sizes. So looking at the last file, XML, you can now see that we have D at the start indicating it's a directory, and we have RWXR blah 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 indicating our permissions, root being the owner and root being the group owner as well, and you'll get 4.0k, which means it's 4 kilobytes, and then you'll get the date as well. Handy stuff. Now that the terminal is a bit ugly, we'll cd back home and we'll just clear so that we can start fresh. Okay, so let's use a new command. this command, we've already seen ways to make files. We've used echo to put text into a new file already. We've used nano as well, but we can actually also use a command called touch. Touch literally just creates a new empty file, provided that file doesn't already exist. So touch new file, pretty standard name. We'll put .txt as well, why not? And essentially we don't edit it, we don't put anything into it, it is just there. So now that if we ls the contents of the home directory, you'll now see new file.txt. So let's do a long listing of new file, specifically only new file, .txt as well. So now that we can review the permissions, we know that ls-l returns a longer listing, including permissions. So we can see that we have -rw-rr, essentially meaning we can only read and write to this file. We can't execute it. So we'll be using another command, chmod, change mode, 700. And I'll explain what this does in a second. And then we just write the file name. So now that if we ls-l new file again, you can now see that we have an X there, meaning that it's now executable, and it's also green, which is nice too. So essentially how this works is the 700, you need to break it into 3 digits. So I'm going to have like stuff on the screen right now to visualize what I'm talking about. So you'll have the first digit. The first digit is the owner, us, okay? And read, write, and execute are the 3 permissions that you can have. So essentially, they each have values. Read is worth 4, write is worth 2, and execute is worth 1. So since the first digit applies to the owner, you can add these numbers together to change what you get. So for example, if the first digit was 5, that means the owner can read and execute the file. If it was 6, that means it can the owner can read and write the file. Sorry, read and write to the file. The second digit means the group. It's 0, so we don't give the group any permissions, and the third digit is others, which is also 0. So for example, you could have things like 755, which would mean the owner has all privileges, but only the groups and others can only read and execute the file, since the value of read is 4 and the value of execute is 1, which means 5, right? I do understand it's a bit complicated, but it will make sense further down the line. So with this, let's now explain on how you can take ownership of a file. So we'll be using a command that's really similar to chmod. We'll be using chown, but to begin with, when taking ownership of a file, it's important to remember that you must put sudo at the start, since this is a command that requires sudo privileges. If you enter it without sudo privileges, it will prompt an error saying you need to use sudo for this, essentially. So a sudo chown, so it means change own. So now we're trying to own the file, and you put $user : $user, which basically just sets both owner and group to your user account. So essentially just giving us the ownership. This is like the main part. This is the target, which is us. $user just extracts our user and makes it the user of owner and group. So now that we have this, we just enter the target file, new file.txt, and there you go, simple as that. So if that file for whatever reason wasn't yours, you can, provided you have sudo privileges, you can make it yours by using this command. So now I'm going to move on to finding files. We'll be using the etc directory again because it has loads of files already in it, loads of important files as well. And I'm also going to be using something called wildcards. Wildcards are used to find files when you're not entirely sure of the name of them. You're probably going to end up using them quite frequently because the etc directory has a ton of files, all with tons of different names, which can be challenging to find, or if you're trying to find specific types of files. So we're already in the home directory. Just double check, print working directory. Cool. So if we do find /etc, and then we put -name, specify that this is the name of the file that we are trying to find, and then we'll just put quotations and then a star, basically meaning everything after this is what we want to find. So we'll just look for .conf files just now. So that's how the command looks. So we're saying find amongst the etc directory, and then you specify the name, and then we're looking for only files that end with .conf. The star just means anything after the star is allowed. So if we enter that, you'll be returned only files that end in .conf as specified by the wildcard. The wildcard is the star, pretty much, put simply. So let's try this a few other times. So let's use the up arrow key to return that command to save us time writing it again. And let's put, basically, we'll put a star at the start, we'll put SSH, and we'll put another star again. So we're basically saying that any file name that has something before SSH and something after SSH, return. So if we enter that, and then again, we'll use the first one, like for example, /etc/SSH, that works as well, /etc/SSH/SSH config. So you can see that it's now returning files that have SSH in it and something before or something after. So let's say, for example, I've forgotten my, I know the start of the file. We'll come up with something. We'll just put, starts with an S, but I don't know what it ends with. So we just put the wildcard in there and return. There you have all files that begin with S and have something after it. It's as simple as that. It's useful for finding files especially, but also when you're trying to target numerous files for something. That could be used in scripts, for example, if you want to scan like specifically text files, you'd put your wildcard, your star, and then .txt, basically meaning everything that ends in .txt, scan. Simple as that. Very useful. I'll do one more example of, say, using the same command again. We'll say you don't know what it starts with, but you know what's in the middle and you know what it ends with. So I don't know, star here. So I know it has log in it. A star again, something else after that, and then it ends in conf. Then you enter that, you'll have permission denied, right? So you just want to put sudo at the start then. If permission's denied, entering sudo at the start is fine. So then you'll have your results. So yeah, simple as that. Very useful to know, and we'll be going over it a bit. We'll be going over it as well, more in depth over time. Also in later modules, we're using wildcards quite a bit. So if you feel it's a bit difficult to understand, please don't panic, because I'm not going to visit stuff once. I'm just going to keep coming back, so don't worry about it too much. Let's just clear this terminal because it is ugly. I like keeping the terminal clean. It just makes things better. So let's try stringing some of this stuff together. So let's start with find, and then we'll write /, basically meaning that we're searching the root directory here. And then we'll put -type, specifying the type of thing we're trying to find. You could put D for directory, or we're going to put F for file. So what we're saying is search the root directory for files, and then we'll put, I don't know, -perm. So we're specifying for certain permissions where -o others have, I don't know, write privileges. So we're searching through the root directory for files. We're specified by -type F, which means we're searching specifically for files. -perm basically means we're specifying that we're looking for files where others have the write permission. So -o is others equals write. Pretty much, we're just saying just the write permission. And then you're going to want to also put at the end 2, and then a greater than symbol, and then /dev/null. And this basically just silences error messages from folders that we can't access. You'll probably get quite a lot if you don't put this, and it's going to make it a lot more janky. So let's just run this, and as it runs, there you go. That is going to take a little minute because we're searching the root directory here. We're searching a lot of files. So all these files will be within the root directory. We know this because it starts with a /, and then they're all files because we've specified type F, meaning we're only looking for files where these files others have write permission. All of these files owners have write permission, and then all the error messages have been silent. And you can tell by the amount of files that have been returned, there's going to be a lot of error messages. So to wrap this up, I do understand that this module can feel like a bit of a push in the water. It definitely is, but please don't feel too threatened by the concepts, because these concepts will be touched on a lot more. Early modules, I do understand, can feel quite, overwhelming. But once again, I do want to say I have the GitHub has all the documentation, so you can take your time and read up on the stuff and actually understand it if you're feeling lost. I do want to clarify again. I am going to touch on these things more. I'm not just going to touch on them once and leave it. We'll keep visiting these things back. You'll learn more about what the root directory actually is, and more about the commands that we've actually learnt today. Especially chmod as well, and how the number system following it actually works. But in the meantime, though, I do thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, and I do hope that you've learned something. So thanks for your time. If you do feel stuck, I'm going to say again, check the GitHub out. I'll see you in a bit.